Brian made it first. Okay. Hey, guys. Yep, a little sick. And I like how it's like a competition every week to see who can get it first. You know, I'm always first, just in case everybody was wondering. First to like. Look at that. Carlo bringing in the heat. All right. All right, so good day, Jet Fuel. Super nice video quality. Okay. Well, we have less people in the office today. A couple people are sick, so maybe we got less people chewing on bandwidth. I don't know. Maybe I just look spectacular today, and that's why the video, I don't know. I kind of feel like Mr. Rogers with this sweater. Anybody know Mr. Rogers? I guess if you grew up in the U.S., you'd know Mr. Rogers, but I kind of feel like it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. You know? Anyway. All right. If you don't know, then forget it. Yeah, nobody knows about Mr. Rogers. Yeah, look him up. I think Tom Hanks just made a movie about him, actually. But literally, this sweater looks like Mr. Rogers' sweater. He gyps it up and sings "It's a Beautiful Neighbor" or something like that. Anyway. Yeah. Okay, so let's give it a second or two here, and then we'll get started. I may cough or sniffle throughout this. My coronavirus has been acting up. Anyway, I think I'll be fine. Hopefully. Anybody? Somebody says here, lots to talk about this week. Yeah, we always have lots to talk about, I think. Yeah, I'll try not to die. So I've been pretty good at not dying for the last 40 some odd years. So my track record's pretty good. So I think I'll be all right. Question for later. I'll answer it right now. So what's up with Swift Swap provider? You mean the Swift wires? Okay. And GBP ramp. So LHV should have their GBP opened up for us. They said, actually, they told us first week of February. But I expect within the next week or so that we will get some news from them. And we should be ready to go with GBP. Faster payments as well. Swift. So yeah, the Swift provider, back in December, they were having problems with their main banking partner, mainly for US Swift wires going to the US, tied to crypto. And now the bank that had those issues, I think, probably got an ultimatum from some of their US correspondents, which caused them to basically shut down crypto-related Swift payments anywhere, not just the US. So the provider is looking for another bank that will provide the service. So we're waiting. We're also in talks with LHV to open up Swift through LHV. So we'll see how that works. And we're also looking for other options. So yeah, we were notified in December that they were having issues with the US, but now it seems that same bank can't process Swift anywhere. We will find an alternative. So a little bit of a delay, I guess, for those that want to use a Swift, but we will find a solution. So coming here shortly. Does CoinMetro server side use microservice architecture, containerization? Do you have a DevOps person who manages Kubernetes or perhaps Docker? We do use Docker. We do use containerization. There are some microservices that run, that's for sure. So we actually use a few different types of techniques. Those are two of them. And we do have a DevOps guy, though he isn't full-time yet. We're actually in some preliminary talks with the same team that works on the CSD to take over some of the development inside of CoinMetro. So yeah, they use a form of agile development that seems to work quite nicely with their team. Definitely worked well for the CSD. But yeah, to answer your question, Uros, we do use some microservices, and yes, we use containerization, and that happens to be Docker for the most part. Yeah, Sal definitely. I don't want Sal to burn out. I think he's halfway burned out, so we don't want him to burn the other half. And I think he'd really like to focus on some certain things and not have to focus on others. And this would basically take a lot of the weight off of his shoulders and allow him to kind of shine, because he'd be able to work on whatever he damn well pleased. So yeah, we're in. Anyway, we have our good buddy Oliver is going to be giving a nice tour of the products to this development team next week. They've already went through our GitHub and went through a lot of the code. And now it's just about seeing that code in action and then understanding. I think initially we'll take 1 or 2 projects that we will devote for them for a month or 2, and then slowly scale up until they are doing most of the work behind the scenes, taking care of most of the dev work, and Salvatore will be able to focus on whatever he wants to, basically. Team would be 3 individuals plus a project lead. So 4 individuals from that side, plus Salvatore and everybody else that Steven and everybody else that works already on the CoinMetro side would still be there. So we would increase our team by about 4 people. CSD is coming along very good. MVP was ready on the 20th of January. And now we're working into build our auxiliary services. And now it's about getting the launch ready. March 23rd is the date now for the launch inside the sandbox. So turquoise, no, not my favorite color. Actually, I kind of just like to color coordinate with the office. That sounds, I don't know, this sounds really weird saying that out loud. But yeah, so, I figured I just want to, look good for you guys, some turquoise behind me. I figured it blended, it blends in, a little bit with camouflage action going on. I don't know if I have a favorite color, to be honest. My favorite color is probably not a color. I think black or something like that. Not that I don't walk around in black all the time, but black is easy, man. I mean, it just goes with anything, right? So not a color though, actually. So when first issuance? First issuance would be right around that same time, end of March. That's what we're planning for. XCM is 1 year old today. Actually, I think virtual trading of XCM is 1 year old tomorrow. I think it's the 8th, if I'm not mistaken. So I guess, yeah, technically it would be today, 365 days or something like that. But that was virtual tradability. So it wasn't actually minting of XCM. But yeah, I guess, yeah, I am aware. Almost that almost happy birthday for XCM, depending on when you believe XCM came into existence, whether it was virtual trading or minting. I haven't put any money into Oilcoin as of yet. Alicoin, sorry. Too risky. Well, I mean, look, the best trader in the world in crypto is risky because it's crypto, guys. I mean, it's a speculative market, super speculative. So obviously, it doesn't matter how good of a trader you are, it still makes it risky. But no, not yet. But that has nothing to do with the fact that of the system itself or my thinking that it's risky or whatever. Just simply that I haven't put any money on the table yet. Hold up with getting new trend managers. Well, marketing. I know it's just another aspect of marketing, but that's coming, guys. We actually just had a meeting today with someone that may come on to the marketing team. So yeah, it's coming. It's about awareness. We need people to know that the platform exists, both from the investor side and the manager side. Audit with LHV is now scheduled for the 25th of this month. 25th of this month. It was delayed because our head of legal was sick. And so 25th of February. Okay, guys, let's get started because we're already like 20 minutes and I've been answering questions here. And we haven't even gotten through our normal stuff. So give me a second. Let me find my little AMA cheat sheet here. Okay, here we go. LHV is our bank. It's our main banking partner. Algo trader, yeah. On the algo trading side, I know there was obviously waiting on liquidity. Our market maker is now live, has been live since last week. Scaling up, but has been live. Yeah, as far as that algo trading, I know they were onboarded. There was an issue at one point with the onboarding. They were onboarded after that. They were going through some tiers on the KYC side. I think that's been solved, and now I think they did a demo of the platform, and actually have to ask Oliver how that demo went because I was away and I didn't get the full feedback from that. Saludos, Ruben, ¿cómo estás? Okay, so let's jump into news, and then we'll get to Kevin Explains Crypto, and we'll come back on the Q&A, guys. How's that? So news. So we have, because I missed last week. I was sick, still kind of sick, but at least I'm back in the office. So missed last week. So we're going to do, instead of having market news just from last week, we have market news from last week and the week before, or this week, sorry, and the week before. And we have 5 pieces of news from each. So let's get rolling on that. News from last week. So I haven't looked at these at all, which is usually what I don't do, but I see a few topics here that I might actually have to look at the news story before I make a comment. So let's see how this goes. Antopoulos writes to judge vouching for law team suing Bitfinex for BTC manipulation. So let's see here. Leave the class against. Okay. So I actually didn't know this, but that's quite interesting. So Andreas Antonopoulos, if you don't know, is is a Bitcoin maximalist, I guess, is a good way to describe him. But I guess he's going to join the prosecution as a witness against Bitfinex and its affiliates over alleged market manipulation leading to the 2017 bull run. Okay, so this, I believe, is a civil case, if I'm not mistaken. So this is a civil case, not the pending litigation that's going through a grand jury right now with Tether and Bitfinex and a few other companies. So this is a civil prosecution. So he's joining he wrote to the judge, to vouch for the legal team, the law team suing Bitfinex. Not sure how much weight that vouch. I mean, you have a non-lawyer from the industry vouching for a legal team. I don't really get how that's like me saying this legal team is awesome to a judge. I don't think the judge would give half a shit, to be quite honest. But hey, I mean, I guess it doesn't hurt. But I guess if he was actually giving more of an expert testimony on how he could see that there was actually manipulation based on, I don't know, analyzing Bitcoin flows, might be something better that he could provide to the prosecution. But how many languages do I speak? Was that me, Daniel? Two, just Spanish and English. But I do understand French and Italian. I can read both of them. Depending on where those people are from, I can understand it when they speak it. But I can't speak the languages as of yet. Number 2 on a list of 5 from news from last week: crypto asset firm Amun launches inverse Bitcoin ETP. So an ETP, for those that don't know, is an electronically traded paper. So this is a bit ridiculous, right? So you take a digital asset and then you make a paper version of it and trade it electronically. If anybody doesn't get the irony there, you might be in the wrong room. Anyway, so let's see. So finished product for traders. I bet you this is Switzerland. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Switzerland. You know, the guys in Switzerland, I really don't understand what they do in Switzerland. Switzerland likes to think they're at the forefront always on finance, financial products, but they build shit that no one wants, that only really gets sold in Switzerland, maybe Austria, Germany, whatever. But the rest of the world could give, they just don't care about. I mean, so again, it's a digital asset issuer who issues an electronically traded paper, a paper version of a decentralized asset built on an electronic form that is basically a stand-in for the underlying fully digital asset. Anyway, obviously the idea here is that people that already trade ETPs will already have an account. They don't need to get a wallet, et cetera. It's the same idea that people thought that when futures came out, it was going to completely change the market. And well, for the most part, it didn't. So anyway, so another asset being traded, great. What do I think about that? I don't really care. I think that until we need to mature the underlying market before any of these, let's say, synthetic instruments make any bit of difference to the market on a whole. Number 3 on a list of 5 from last week: data shows 25 billion worth of Bitcoin and Ether held by 7 crypto exchanges. Yeah, this is a no shit Sherlock comment. Our news story: centralized exchanges hold a good amount of the available Bitcoin and Ether, considering they're the number 1 and number 2 asset in the world when you talk about crypto. And if you're going to do anything with them, one of the only things you can do with crypto, let's be honest, is trade it. Because yeah, you can spend it. Yeah, you can go on websites and buy, I don't know, cards to go buy Starbucks coffee with it and Amazon gift cards. But in reality, the vast majority of transactions that happen in crypto are based on trading, OTC trading. It's all OTC, by the way, guys. That's over the counter. Over the counter trading simply means there's no centralized counterparty. That means when you get a price, it's a price from a specific exchange and not from some centralized pricing agency. So the entire market's OTC. Obviously, if trading is the #1 thing you can do with an asset, where do you think most of those assets will sit? Well, trading venues, obviously. So not much of a news here, to be honest. It just shows how small the market is still, 25 billion. That's not, I mean, that's a big number to me and you, right? Normal people. I don't have 25. I'd like to have 25 billion. Sounds like a nice number to have in your bank account, where you go to like into your mobile app on your bank and you can't even see your balance because it doesn't fit. That's probably, it's probably something good to wake up to in the morning. Oh my God, it's 0. And then you scroll to the left and go, oh no, 25 billion. Okay, still there. So yeah, point is that should be much larger. But the fact that it's a large portion of what's available, well, kind of makes sense to me. Number 4 on a list of 5 from last week, Gemini becomes first ever crypto exchange to pass Deloitte's second-level security exam. So when I first just read this, what it tells me is, okay, that's interesting, I guess. Not sure that it makes any sense. Now, obviously, I'm pro-regulation. That doesn't mean I believe in all regulation. That doesn't mean I think regulation is awesome. It doesn't mean that I wish regulation was actually here. What it means is that regulation is here. And if you're not pro-regulation, eventually you get stopped. And I know that, all the people that look at big exchanges like Binance, et cetera, have their own opinion on that right now because they've never lived through any other similar circumstances. I have, happened in FX. I've seen it happen in other markets, commodities, futures, even synthetics, where these things were previously unregulated or not regulated to a full extent, let's say. And companies make a lot of money because they jump into those markets and then they don't get regulated, or they're not regulated to the extent that they need to be regulated. And eventually, well, shit crumbles and all the power flows back up to the regulated entities. That's always what happens in finance. It's always what has happened. There's no reason it'll change now. So they passed the Deloitte, what's SOC Type 2 securities exam. So SOC is Service Organizational Control. Let's see. So it's by the, let's see, applied for regulatory purposes, core business areas outside financial reporting. So yeah, it's based on compliance. It's basically, it's like getting, everybody sees these, what is this? ISO, right? So you see a lot of companies that say they're ISO. It's basically an audit on some type of process in your business. Well, this is an audit on how you're doing compliance or security compliance inside of a company. So they've basically been shown that they've passed this security audit, which is a good thing. Did they need to do this? No. Does it mean that they're fully secure and that they can't get hacked? No, because for the most part, this type of exam doesn't include most of the type of security measures that would be needed from a pure technical standpoint to protect blockchain-based assets. Now, having said that, most hacks are not hacks, guys. It's not like James Bond. Somebody's jumping into a system and you see some guy sweating and he's typing and there's all kinds of shit going on his screen and he hacks into a system and then steals all the money. That mostly happens in movies. Most hacking is social engineering. Somebody gets a phone call, somebody gets an email, they think it's from somebody else, they give access to something they shouldn't. Guy gets access, boom, game over. Somebody goes to a Hilton, to a conference, uses a public Wi-Fi that's called a Hilton free Wi-Fi, which happens to be the guy next to them's mobile phone, and on through the hotspot steals access to their computer files and gains access to their accounts. That's usually how hacks happen. So those type of hacks, for the most part, are probably covered to an extent inside of this, let's say, security examination or audit. So that's good. Did they have to pass this? No. Is it good that they passed it? I guess so. I think it's more for PR. They're just trying to show that they're a legitimate organization, which is a good thing for them. But I wouldn't see this as groundbreaking. Lots of organizations pass this, and some are required to by law. So, not many. I think probably no other crypto company has done it. Well, basically because they don't have to. Like I've said a million times, even good people will do bad things if they're not forced to do good things. And that may sound ridiculous, but in reality, look, if it was, if it's legal to do things that you can make more money, which are illegal in other industries, then I guarantee you, even good people in that industry will do it. You can see it happening in crypto all the time, right? Derivatives, for example. Derivatives should be illegal to trade without a license. It hasn't fully been applied. The legislation hasn't been applied, but it should. And anybody with a brain that's outside, that's been in corporate, not corporate, but sorry, but financial services before knows that. But they still offer the service because they make a lot of money doing it. So there you go. Number 5 on the list of 10, sorry, 5 on the list of 5 from last week. Austria crypto regulators slap unlicensed operators with 200,000 maximum fine. Well, there you go. We should start seeing more and more of this. Kind of surprising that it came out of Austria first. I haven't really seen this type of this level of fine yet in the industry, but I would expect to see many, many, many more of these. So let's see. Austria crypto regulators have announced that crypto firms cannot operate until they obtain a license from the nation's financial watchdog as the new anti-money laundering regulations come into effect. That would be Anti-Money Laundering Directive 5, AMLD 5. Crypto assets, however, do not fall under this regulation. They remain subject to the ESMA, which is the European Securities and Markets Authority current restriction. Austria crypto regulators have also advised investors to always verify the company's identity. Okay, they'll impose a maximum fine of 200,000. So apparently, I don't see that they have fined anyone, but that they're saying that they will. But look, that's what regulators are supposed to do. That's them doing their job. So, carrying on. All right, and from this week, number 1 on a list of 5 from this week, North Korea used LinkedIn and Telegram in USD 7 million crypto exchange hack. So what did I just talk about? Social engineering? Well, there you go. Do you think that they hacked into a crypto exchange by sweating at night, drinking lots of coffee and pounding on keyboards using LinkedIn and Telegram? Of course not. What they did was they went into Telegram, probably find out who was working at the company, got into their LinkedIn profiles, probably made it seem like they were getting contacted from someone through Telegram that worked at the company, CEO maybe, and got access to information they shouldn't have, gained access to cold, hot, or whatever wallets, and stole the money. So again, just puts a point on it that when people think about crypto security, they have this idea in their head, or just cybersecurity in general, that you need to be super tech savvy to protect your assets. You don't. When it comes to blockchain, obviously you have some type of technical, you need to have some type, cold wallets, all these type of systems, hot wallets, warm wallets, wallets that can only send to certain addresses, wallets that only receive from certain addresses, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All these things help, and they are technically are related to tech, that's for sure. But at the end of the day, it's really all about making sure you have internal policies that stop these social engineering hacks from working. So if someone internally gets an email from me that says, hey, pay this amount of Bitcoin to a wallet, they don't do it. You know why? Because we don't send emails asking people to send money out of our wallets. We also don't do that via Telegram. We also don't do it via LinkedIn messages. We also don't do it. Again, these are simple techniques, but this is usually how people get hacked. I mean, I would say high percent. I don't know what that percent is. If you ask for my opinion, it's higher than 80. It's probably even higher than 90% of all hacks start or end with social engineering. Number 2 on a list of 5 from this week, how the long tail of coronavirus might slow Bitcoin's hash power growth. This sounds like quite a leap. Let's see what CoinDesk has. I have to read this one. May impose a longer-term impact on Bitcoin network mining activity at a time. Okay, how are we saying this? Chinese manufacturers. Okay. I don't see one of the most effective business in our mining machine production. Okay, so they're saying that most miner makers have been affected by the outbreak since their factories are based in cities. Okay, during the extended vacation, almost all production will be halted. Okay, so less miners being produced, less miners going on the market, or at least for a certain amount of time, meaning that you could affect the actual hash growth. I guess, but in reality, I don't imagine. Look, I think this whole coronavirus is quite overblown, to be quite honest. I don't know what everybody else thinks, but at the end of the day, I think I don't see such a lasting effect. A bubble of a month or 2 or 3, I think most of that hash power will probably be eaten up by older machines, maybe coming back online, cloud mining or whatever. Especially if the hash rate has a spike down, where people assume they might have a better chance of actually getting their own miners or their old miners back online. Number 3 on a list of 5 from this week, hackers stole and encrypted data of 5 U.S. law firms, demand 2 crypto ransoms. Again, more hacks, this time from law firms. Okay, guess how they probably did it? Social engineering. So they're demanding crypto. Now, it's funny because crypto is pretty traceable, right? I don't know let's see what kind, does it say what kind of crypto they asked for? They asking for like Dash or Monero or something like that. No, Bitcoin. So demanded 2 100 Bitcoin ransoms from each firm, one to restore access to the data, one to delete their copy instead of selling it. So it's always funny to me when people, when blackmailers steal data and then try to charge you to delete it. I mean, they're already obviously so trustworthy of individuals, that you would trust that if you pay them, they will delete it, right? Yeah, bullshit. So anyway, they asked for Bitcoin, which is pseudo-anonymous, which means they probably would get caught. If the law firm is savvy enough, maybe they would just pay them to try to catch them. I don't know. Actually, this is, let's see, this is in the U.S., where, by the way, the U.S. government's one of the biggest active holders of Bitcoin. I think they were just about to auction off 4,000 Bitcoin that were being held by some agency. So maybe they should just they should ask the U.S. government to actually pay the 100 Bitcoin, and then they could just trace down the owners of that Bitcoin, or the new owners of that Bitcoin, and throw them in jail. Just shows that, well, why the guys are smart enough to social engineer a hack to steal from U.S. law firms, they're not smart enough to know that Bitcoin's probably one of the worst cryptocurrencies to accept their ill-gotten gains through. Number 4 on a list of 5 from last week. This week, Jesus Christ. Consensus acquires U.S. broker-dealer and bid to tokenize $1 trillion muni bond market. That's the municipal bond market, for those that don't know. Muni being short for municipal. That's basically all the bonds that small and large municipalities around the country. So when, let's say, a town wants to build new roads, put up new traffic lights, whatever, well, they sell bonds. Most of the minimums on those bonds, I think the vast majority are quite high, 10,000 maybe to 100,000, maybe even higher, though some might be 5,000 or so. I don't know what the average low is on those, but at the end of the day, it's a huge market. It's in the trillions, as said. It's difficult to get into them because of the relatively high value of the lowest amount you can invest in those bonds. There's really no secondary market. There's definitely no retail secondary market. So I assume consensus here is assuming that tokenizing it and allowing to fractionalize those bonds would open up more access to retail investors. So they're still not talking about settlement of those things. Now, obviously, in the U.S., transfer agent registration is not that difficult to get, but I don't think it's mentioned here. They're simply talking about having a broker-dealer license, so opening up the secondary market. But they would still need to settle those somewhere. And as far as, I guess, Securitize now and a few others do have those registrations, though I don't know how active they are in actual settlement. I think, but anyway, look, going down the right path. You see a lot of, just to bring up a point on this, I just saw that Sony just invested in Securitize. A lot of companies are now coming on to this idea that tokenized capital markets make a lot of sense. And Consensus is just one of many that's now coming into that market. Number 5 on a list of 5 from this week, Bitcoin's uptrend is gathering pace, and many altcoins are surging too. Look, guys, I don't know why people get so excited about these ebb and flows in Bitcoin and back into altcoins. If I look right now, just checking on pricing here, what are we at? 8,900 euro for Bitcoin. So roughly 96. So we're still under 10K. Everybody thinks, 10K is some magic number. If we hit it, we're going to spike up to 13 or 15 or I don't know what other nonsense. Look, these ebb and flows are natural. I still don't. There's no such thing as there's never been a bull market in history that is underneath the most recent high watermark. Most recent high watermark for Bitcoin, everybody knows it's around 20K. Until we reach there, we are not in a bull market, guys. We are in a bear market correction. We will always be in a correction or a range until we break the high watermark. That's it. We could be in a bull trend, but we're still inside a bear market. So anyway, we'll see how this flows. We used to have this correlation between Bitcoin and everything else. When Bitcoin moved, everybody said, oh, Bitcoin's going up, everything else is going to go up too. So people would just pump money into both sides. Why? Well, immature traders, not enough experience to understand that there should be no correlation. When there shouldn't be, there's no reason to put money on both sides. Now that we start to see that these retail traders actually have a bit of knowledge now, we see reverse correlation a lot of times, where basically you see Bitcoin going up, so people are selling altcoins, shit coins, whatever you want to call them, and then pushing that money into Bitcoin. And then once Bitcoin stabilizes or starts to retreat, same thing happens in reverse. People get out of Bitcoin, go back into micro and mid caps, and those shoot higher. So this is natural, guys. No reason to get excited about price movements. The one thing that'll kill you, by the way, as a trader is to get excited about price movements. You should never be excited about price movements, because just because it's going up doesn't mean you're making money. Even if you're holding it, you haven't made money until you actually cash out. So the trade is what makes you money. At the end of the day, whether it goes up or down, don't get emotional about it. Just have a plan and stick to it. That's it. And always stick to the plan. I don't care if you have a plan and that plan fails 5 times in a row, 10 times in a row. If that's your plan, you stick to it. You can always go back and revisit the plan, that's for sure. But if you over optimize your plans as well, you will lose in the long run, right? The best traders in the world have a plan and they don't ever optimize. The only thing they may tweak is maybe entries and exits around volatile or ranging markets. But if you have a plan and you keep changing it or optimizing it, then simply you're over optimizing, you end up losing anyway. Anyway, okay, so moving on. Let's do a quick Kevin Explains Crypto, and then we'll move on back to our Ask Me Anything here. Okay, so I just lost my little screen here. Okay, so Kevin Explains Crypto term this week is state channel. So this is kind of funny because when I first looked at this, it sounds like some news channel where, you know, the state broadcasts fake news. But no, that's not what it is. Okay, so state channel. So a lot of people have heard about the terms on-chain and off-chain, right? So transactions that happen inside of a blockchain, we call those on-chain transactions. If something happens off-chain, like Lightning Network, for example, where transactions can happen instantly and then they're reported to the blockchain after the fact, that's called off-chain. Well, off-chain transactions happen inside what we would call a state channel. So a state channel is simply a gateway where transactions happen off-chain. So state meaning like the status, like what's actually happening, something that's actually happening, a state. So that's the actual transaction taking place. And a channel meaning where these things happen. So a state channel is simply some type of payment channel or transaction channel that's off-chain, where transactions can take place, and then in a secure environment. So this, let's say, could be some type of, these transactions are still signed. So it's a signed transaction that doesn't involve consensus, that doesn't involve a blockchain, that gets stored in a safe place and eventually gets batched, or all those transactions that happen, let's say there's 30 transactions over the course of a certain amount of time, get pushed then on-chain and recorded on the blockchain for immutability. So to be honest, that's what a state channel is. Going away from that, that's essentially how our CSD will work. That's how the CSD will work, at least in its first iteration. It's basically a state channel, a virtualized environment where transactions are settled in real time and then parsed in batches every second onto a Murcko tree, which is a type of cryptography. It's the basis of most original blockchains, where the transactions are then immutable and searchable. Okay, so let's jump in. We have some Reddit questions this week, guys. Since we haven't had those in a bit, I'm going to run through them real quick. I think there's only 4 or 5 of them, so bear with me, and then we'll jump back on to Ask Me Anything. So author number 1 here, K Savage, or Savage 79. Could you make a printable flyer or cards that ambassadors would use to hand out with our link on it? I would say a QR code would be better on a printable, because if the link is, you know, this long, no one's going to sit there and read it off of a card and then type it in. But a QR code would probably work. We definitely could do that. I will pass that on to our design guys and see what they think. But yeah, I would think QR code would definitely be much easier for someone to work with than a URL, unless it was a shortened URL. But even then, I know I see things all the time. I'm in the airplane and whatever. I'm like, I got to check out this website. And I'm like, should I take a picture of this or whatever? I'm like, I'll remember it. It's an easy website. And then I forget. Like literally right now, it makes me remember, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 times that I just thought about this in my last couple flights after reading through the magazine. And I don't remember what any of the websites are. Though at the time I thought, I remember this. Simple. Don't remember it. Number 2 here from Reddit, Neo Holder. How well are you guys protected against hacks? What happens if it occurs anyway? So from a technical standpoint, any company can always be better at protecting themselves from hacks from a technical standpoint. There's always new ways for hacks to happen. and you can always do better. Having said that, as I said previously in the beginning of the show, most hacks, vast majority, social engineering. And on those, I think we're very well equipped. These things have happened. We were, even my FX company years ago, we've had people try to social engineer us on many occasions. They've never had any success, mainly because I've been doing business online in one way, shape, or form for quite a long time, pretty much since the internet became a thing. And social engineering has always been a part of that. So having been through that in the past, you learn. So I think in that aspect, we're pretty well equipped. The team is a small team, pretty tight, let's say, well-knit, tight-knit team. We understand that we've already had on many occasions through Telegram, through email, where people have tried to social engineer us without any success. From the technical side, we constantly look to increase our ability to stop, penetration, outward penetration into our systems. We limit the amount of information that's available through any ports that might be open. Our cold wallets hold the vast, vast, vast majority of all assets on the exchange. Hot wallets are only accessible by a very small amount of individuals in the company. They're all multi-sig times and time restricted vaults and cold wallets. So I can't say that you can't say that you're perfect ever. We obviously don't have as many eyes on us as are on Binance and other exchanges. So we don't have as many people trying to hack us, that's for sure. But we put a lot of effort into making sure that we do everything we can to keep ourselves secure, and we always try and kind of up the notch. But from social engineering aspect, I think we are one of the most aware companies on those types of hack attempts, and we do quite well at making sure that they're not successful. Third one here: when the bull run starts and other exchanges will overloaded with new users, is CoinMetro capable to handle a big influx of users in a short time? So yes, and we are currently actually, to a certain extent, and we are currently actually rehashing our entire code base to make sure that it's more scalable than it is now. It's scalable now, but it was built in a piecemeal fashion, right? We had a lot of developers that came and went, and a lot of different developers using different techniques to make code. So obviously all the code works together pretty well, but it's still somewhat piecemeal. It was made in pieces, and now we're going back and refactoring all that code. And in refactoring that code, we'll make it much more scalable, and will allow us to scale in many ways that right now we are scalable, but only to a certain extent. And that process will take the next about 2 months or so. So yeah, look, the one thing I'll say here though, bull run, everybody talks about bull runs and it makes me kind of insane, right? Because don't confuse bull run prices going up with an influx of new users, because they're mutually exclusive. So in 2017, yes, you had prices continuing to go up and lots of new users coming into the fray. Okay. Market has changed since then. That's never going to happen again. You will never see, an asset in crypto, and a micro cap maybe, but Bitcoin, you will never, you can quote me on this one if you'd like, you will never see Bitcoin run from, let's say, its current 8K to 200, 300K in 1 year. It's not going to happen, ever. You can talk about the limitation of 21 million Bitcoin, and I'll tell you, well, you can buy 1 Satoshi. So multiply that 21 million by 100 million, and you will really figure out the actual fractionalization of Bitcoin. Understand that the more Bitcoin costs, the more a Satoshi costs, the less people can even buy 1 Satoshi in the world, considering that the vast majority of population in the world live on under $1 a day of income. So imagine that. All right. Now, as Bitcoins get more expensive, the Satoshis become more expensive, and it limits the amount of people that can buy them. So anyway, the point is, just to get back to your question, in that a bull run can happen, probably will happen. More people will probably come into crypto as crypto becomes easier to use. It'll have nothing to do with price points at that point. It's going to have more to do with the fact that crypto is now integrated into banking apps, into payment service gateway apps, into different apps people use on a daily basis. And they're given rewards and perks in some type of crypto, and they have to use some type of exchange button or methodology to cash out. That's when you're going to see the next real crypto run. Yeah, our goal is to be at the forefront of that considering that we will be doing not only unregulated assets, but regulated assets, and moving into many different spaces, including payments over the next year or so. Case Savage 79 again, last question. Staking tokens, will earning rewards for holding coins be available? What coins will you list? We may at some point do something with staking. There's a bit of a legality question there for me, to be quite honest. I think it's still a bit of a gray area. But right now we use BitGo for the majority of our cold and hot wallets. And BitGo does offer staking right now, but on 2 assets we don't list. If Bitcoin starts to offer staking on last assets we already list, we would consider offering that as well to our clients, or at least giving back those rewards in some way, shape, or form to the client, to our client base that would be compliant with law. So I can't say which ones we will list. We're still waiting on LHV, our banking partner, to come back with this self-assessment guideline, which will help us list more assets quicker. We're hoping that'll happen either this month or after the audit leading into March. Yeah, so yeah, and I think at some point we may even come up with some staking methodology for our own XCM. But again, there's a bit of a gray area there, legally speaking. So we have to kind of get through that before we can move too much further. Okay, let's get on to the AMA. Back to the AMA here. I see how many languages? Yes, 2 languages. I already mentioned that one. Rules, the column seems to have stabilized at about volume, I guess, at about 100K per day. To what do you attribute this? Increased user base last 10 days? Or nope, well, there's been an increase in user base, but mostly attributed to market makers coming on board and us restructuring liquidity. So we were doing basically a VWAP price, a volume weighted average price of 5 tiers of liquidity to most of the majors on the platform. And that was giving larger spreads, but more liquidity top of book. Because initially we thought that since most crypto exchanges have low liquidity top of book, this could separate us. But we came to realize over time that, well, most clients just want cheap Bitcoin top of book. So we restructured so that it's much cheaper top of book, even though liquidity is less, and the rest of that liquidity is spaced down through those 5 tiers. That, with the induction of those market makers, is what has essentially increased the volume. Bjorn asking, what is new regarding business development? One cool thing on the business development side is one of our currently listed assets has agreed to do some co-marketing with us, which I think will start happening sometime next week or the week after. And that asset will also be getting an additional boost of liquidity from our current market maker, because the issuer of the asset is actually going to provide funds so that the market maker can more accurately price their asset. So that's going to happen, like I said, over the next week or 2. So that's a cool little note on the business development side. Market makers are now live, so not necessarily business development, but definitely a cool thing that people have been waiting for. They were obviously scaling up, but still live, so good to go there. Montenegro, we're hoping that the Montenegro, we will be in Montenegro by end of February, early March. And officially, let's say, in that sandbox. So that's good, not necessarily business development, but it'll lead to lots of different business development. A lot of the business development that I've been talking about right now is kind of co-business development between CoinMetro and Ignium, the CSD, which revolves around market players in Brazil, Japan, and a few other places. So lots of focus there. Yeah, so let's see, what's the status with the potential liquidity providers for QNT and something else? Don't remember what it was. So liquidity providers are up and running on all assets. QNT Quant right now has a minimum liquidity, but there will be more coming. Do you have any figures for the user base of CoinMetro at the moment? Are signups increasing? Don't have numbers off the top. No, I know every week I say I'm gonna but to be honest, I'm gonna have to add that into the show. Like next week, I'll make sure I ask for some numbers, and this way I can share them every week. But to be honest, I don't. Are they increasing? I know that we definitely have some new signups. I know that after a few promo codes were leaked here and there, we have seen increases in signups immediately after those little releases. So I would say in general, I would say yes, they are increasing, and they definitely are increasing based on these tests that we've been running. Lots of small new things coming out on CM. Why isn't there more communication via email or Twitter anymore? Even the AMAs aren't announced anymore. It's basically just everybody kind of overly focusing now on a few specific tasks. Rest assured, as marketing gets built out, more people come into compliance, more support officers, etc. You will see a massive increase in exposure on communications, because everybody's wearing multiple hats right now. Oliver has, like, I don't know, 17 hats. My assistant Maris has about 17 or 18 hats. Even, Carlo, I think compliance might have 12, 13, 14 hats. Everybody, Kertin finance probably has 12, 13, 14 hats. Everybody's wearing lots of hats. So, and they've been given a few more hats as we start to build up, because including training and all the things, bringing on new people, we're working on hiring, all these type of things. So it's just kind of pulled attention away. It's kind of a lull before the storm, so to speak. You don't need a marketing CMO to make a Twitter post now and then. Yeah, you're right, you don't. But you do need someone to make the Twitter post. And while that may seem like a remedial task, when you tap that on to everything else that needs to be done to make sure that Twitter post actually works, gets people in the door, that when they get in the door, they can actually easily sign up, easily go through KYC, easily deposit, and then make a trade. And when they make a trade, it actually functions the way it should. When you add up all those things, making that Twitter post is actually not that easy. So there's a lot of things that need to happen to make sure that Twitter post is successful. And that's what we're working on. And that's why there's a bit of a lull. Isn't that what Nash tries to do for BTC, the state channel thing? I don't know. To be honest, I don't pay attention to Nash because I don't think there's any reason to pay attention to it. So I can't answer that question, to be honest. But yeah, state channel is I think it was initially coined, pun intended. I think the phrase might have been coined by Ethereum devs, if I'm not mistaken. But it could be. I have no idea, to be honest. Expected start for MM on main pairs with higher liquidity and higher leverage for margin accounts. Expected start on MM on main pairs has already started. Higher liquidity will be increased over time. Higher leverage for margin accounts. We need to run some analysis on those margin accounts. If that analysis runs well, I think before the end of the month, we'll see an increase. 35 views and only 7 likes. Hey, guys and girls, putting a like is free. 35. Those are viewers, not actually like live viewers. But I think at the end of the day, these videos usually get a few hundred here or there. I'm sure that'll increase over time. But anyway, information's out there. People can watch when they feel like they want to watch. Hi, Kev. You heard any feedback from Parsec re-onboarding the market maker? Yeah, actually, I talked to Parsec just the other day. So they're waiting to get listed on another exchange at the same time. I think an exchange in Asia, and that exchange has been delaying them. Now they're hoping. I think the last thing was sometime towards the end of this month. But they're debating now whether they should just go live on CoinMetro now. Right now it's kind of up in the air, but I think they're debating now. I'm actually going to see the CEO of Parsec this evening. So I'll probably have an update. So ping me in Telegram, and I'll let you know when I have an update. What did you get up to in Mexico? Well, I lived in Mexico for 18 years, so I actually have a home there. But I was at this conference in Tulum. I'll be posting some video and some stills and stuff like that about this conference probably over the next week or so. Just haven't had time to do it yet. And actually, I was interviewed by a team that was filming for Netflix. So sometime in the summer, there'll be a Netflix movie about crypto, and I will be in it. They also filmed in Montenegro at that Montenegro conference. So there was that. I was also doing a bit of. I was also there with co-founder of the CSD. We got a bit of work done in terms of the CSD, and we actually set up some meetings and calls, and now we have some set up meetings in Brazil, Los Angeles, and New York. So we'll be visiting with the SEC sometime mid-March about the CSD. Obviously, I will also make a brief mention about CoinMetro and see about possible sandbox access for us as well in the States. And our LA and Brazilian meetings are for both CoinMetro and the CSD, basically a Brazilian sandbox. And LA, there's a professor at UCLA by the name of Alex Nascimento, if anybody knows him. And we've met at a few different conferences and had shared some good conversations. And we're seeing maybe what we can do together. And educational purposes, but also obviously for awareness. Can you explain the XCM ecosystem? Fees converted happens how often? How often do you buy with that XCM? How often do you buy with that XCM back? And are all fees included? So actually, Errol, if I understand your question correctly, so the new XCM rebate system, which recently was launched, there's a percentage of all exchange fees that are converted basically immediately to XCM. But vaulted, I think there's a vaulting. Actually, no, it's not. Actually, there is a schedule now. To be honest, guys, look, when I started this gig, right, I was pretty much the guy who sat between support, development, and marketing. So, which is what Oliver does now. So I had every single update possibly sitting in my head. Now that's not the case. So Oliver is more the guy to ask this type of question. We went through a few different iterations actually when it was going to be automated, when it was going to happen at certain intervals. I think at the end of the day, basically just to make sure that the system itself wasn't overloaded, we went to intervals. So it's calculated instantly, converted at intervals, and vaulted at intervals, if I'm not mistaken. All fees, right now, no, not all fees, because for instance, deposit fees, like that €1, et cetera, are currently not taken into account. Credit card fees, for example, which mostly go to the credit card company, are also not taken into account, but exchange fees are. Over time, we will adjust as we get ways to automate XCM conversion from other fees to include other things inside those rebates as well. How many new coin CM plans to have before marketing start? Can't answer that question because if I told you we would plan on doing 50 and the bank didn't approve them, then we would put 0. So realistically speaking, probably none, because I think, to be honest, if you compare what we have now, the platforms we have now, not to mention the upgrades that'll happen before the full marketing starts, I think we're just as marketable as almost any other crypto company out there. I don't think we need to do anything else. We will, but I don't think we need to. The goal is, once we have this self-assessment guideline, that we will start to pump a few tokens per week to the bank for their approval. But it all depends on liquidity and trading. What we don't want to do is make the same mistake and list things because people ask for it and then they don't trade them. So it's going to be more of we're going to take a bit more of a hands-on approach. I think contact communities first, find communities that really want to be listed, find tokens that people actually will trade, and then go about it that way, rather than trying to find things we believe will work, or things that have been requested by only a handful of people, and at the end of the day, they're not traded. When do you expect the CSD devs to be fully onboarded regarding CoinMetro? Well, we're still in talks with them. There's going to be a demo. Oliver's going to run them through a full demo. They've gone through our code. They will go through a full demo of the systems next week. We will then negotiate with them. If negotiations go well, they are available by the 17th of February, which means probably the week after that, depending on how negotiations go. So towards the end of February, they may start with some project-based assignments. And then once we see how the project base goes, we would integrate them more into the team. But potentially they could start before the end of the month. Can you say how much liquidity is available for the alts? It varies, because the market maker themselves have about over €100,000 at their disposal. So it depends on how much is traded. I think generally speaking, you're talking €300 to €500 top of book initially. And then depending on how that top of book is traded, they will add more as needed and extend that deposit to include more than €100,000 depending on volume. So right now there is enough to cover demand, that's for sure. And their goal is to always cover demand. When are you going back to Pakistan? Plans for Pakistan were Q1. There's going to be an event mid-March. I've been invited. I'm trying to see if it fits well into my plans, because I have LA, Sao Paulo, as well as New York in those plans, plus a trip back to Mexico to sign some paperwork towards the end of February. So I have to see how it fits into my schedule. I think, though, regardless, at some point before the end of Q2, we will make it back there. We're also waiting to get some feedback on the guys that we were in Pakistan with, so that we can make sure this time when we go back, it's more about an action plan, not so much just about a meet and greet. So it's a bit more preparation required. Can you sell us on Bobby Winters? So yeah, to be honest, I haven't had a huge amount of back and forth with Bobby. But he was recommended to us. I've seen his CV. I know a lot of places he worked. I worked with a lot of companies. that he used to work with, and my interaction with him has been positive. So there's not many people in FX that truly are worth their weight, never mind in gold, but even in lead. And I think Bobby's definitely worth his weight. So yeah, I can't sell you on him too much, other than to say that the choice was made because out of possible candidates, he was the guy that looked like that he would fit the position the best. So since you're still looking for the CMO, what's the plan in the meantime for marketing? Is everything dependent on getting that position filled? No, it's not. Right now, we will bring in basically some advisors. So probably within the next week to 2 weeks max, those advisors will start giving advice to set up funnels, to start setting up pieces of our strategy, to start setting up social media, get everything ready for starting initially tests. We may not even hire a CMO. What we really need is a team, and we need a strategy. We need funnels in place. We need basically a to-do list of things that every department needs to do. Not every part, mainly support, supports tools that they use, intercom, et cetera, these type of things, internal tools and external tools, and basically get those things in line. And that process is already going to start. Whether we hire a CMO or not is going to depend mostly on what the budget looks like as we get closer to launching marketing. I think at this point we probably won't, but we will be hiring more content. We will be hiring more SEO. We'll be hiring positions to make sure that we have enough people to support that, let's say, strategy and to-do list that's going to be amassed over the next couple of weeks. We might see some marketing around new market makers. I wasn't sure they were there until you mentioned. Yeah. I mean, look, we obviously all these things are going to be marketed. I mean, we're going to focus on a few USPs. One of those USPs, well, look, marketing, we have liquidity when you do marketing. I think when you market to newbies, marketing, you have liquidity is not something they generally even know what that means. But we definitely have things we can market, and USPs abound. But yes, internally, yes, market making will definitely be something that we shout from the rooftops. And I think you probably will end up receiving some type of newsletter or email, internal marketing, and on social media over the coming week or weeks, which will detail a lot of things that have been happening. There's a lot of things in the works right now, small updates that will culminate into a larger update. And I think at that point it will make sense. We stopped doing weekly newsletters just because people were not opening them anymore because they got it every week. And a lot of it was, don't forget about your KYC or whatever. So now it's about, focusing more on content that people actually want to look at. So you will be seeing more of that. Again, there's a bit of a lull before the storm because everybody's focused on getting a few things streamlined before we start to push forward. How involved are the investors that came in recently? Are they pretty hands off and let you crack on? Do you think they will be there long term? They're hands off. So they obviously give feedback when they can. Oh, look, we like this, we don't like this. Oh, that's really cool. But they're angel investors, guys. So they're not VCs. They're not really hands on. They let us. They trusted us. They trust us to do what we feel is right. They trust our judgment, and that's why they gave us the money. So I do believe they will be here long term. And yes, they have committed to put up more funds and additional rounds. Obviously, they want to see progress. So that's our goal, is to show them progress on all fronts. And we've already started to do that on many fronts. So yes, they are here. They are here long term. That's their commitment to us, and that was the commitment they made when they came in on this first round. So, just about coming up on an hour, guys. Any more questions? Please throw them in. Not sure how today's AMA was for you guys. It was okay for me. I still feel a bit under the weather, so I'm not as I don't know, jubilant as usual, maybe. Hey, Michael. Yeah. Volume is higher. Yeah, I just mentioned that actually. So market makers came online and we revamped the way that we show liquidity on majors. Instead of showing a volume weighted average price at top of book, so more liquidity but higher spread top of book, we now show less liquidity, lower spread, and span out that volume weighted price across 5 tiers. So it means cheaper prices top of book. And we've also brought in market makers. So that is directly those are 2 direct reasons why you've seen an increase in volume. And we expect that to continue to increase as the market makers start to push more liquidity top of book, add more tiers of volume. So yeah, and more people become aware that our prices are now adjusted, especially for Bitcoin and the majors. Cost being acquired. You didn't see that coming, did you? Yeah, I think that's horseshit, guys. Everything that comes out of that company's mouth is either at least 50% bullshit. So acquired could simply mean we were bankrupt as shit, and basically someone came and took our client book and is going to give us 2% remuneration for 2 years if they continue to make money on our client book. And I will almost guarantee you, if they were quote unquote acquired, that's what happened. No money changed hands. Somebody just took over a fledgling business that was falling into the toilet and agreed to give them some small percentage on the back end. So I can't say that I saw it coming because I really didn't think about it. I mean, cost doesn't really come into my brain more than ever, really. I don't pay attention to those guys at all. Obviously, we had a little Twitter war or whatever last time when I told them that they're, what nonsense with this. We're going to freeze money because we're changing our platform, or some ridiculous statement they made. And they tried to, make fun of us and said our volume was low, which obviously is a great comeback for you guys are committing fraud, Anyway, so I think it's just another piece of the stupid puzzle when it comes to that company. But I'm almost positive they're out of business. And that's it. The fees converted. Plus, saying you're acquired and maybe making a shell company and saying this shell company acquired you, maybe they think that's going to stop people from coming after them, or at least give them another couple months where people will just sit there patiently while they can't access their money. And then when they go to blame somebody, they'll first blame the shell company, which will take another few months for people to figure out. And by the time they actually go back to blame the initial owners think they're smart enough to be able to cover their tracks and steal everyone's money. So there you go. And I know, people kind of cringe sometimes when I say shit like this, but that's exactly what's happening, guys. I mean, if you think it's anything else, you're completely blinded. They are stealing money. Period. I mean, I'll write that on Twitter in plain English if you like. You guys are stealing money. Period. At COOS or whatever their Twitter name is. Nice update to the platform, by the way. Great to see the ecosystem up and running. Thanks, Jet Fuel. How much do you have to pay? How much did you have to pay for .com and .io names? Were they free when you got started? No, David. .coms I think are generally about $10 a year or something like that. $10 US. IO is like 60. And no, they weren't free. While you were in Mexico, you should have offered El Chapo's daughter some free XCM on her wedding day. No such thing as bad publicity. Yeah, that might have. Maybe it's probably not bad publicity, but I would have ended up in jail. Which I mean, jail. Hey, by the way, if you commit a crime like in Norway or something, fuck, jail is awesome. You sit like in a cabin and go fishing in the summer, But jail in Mexico is a whole different ballgame, guys. No thanks, So yeah. Daniel, they have a few of those, but that guy is working from them, so he kind of has to be right. I'm missing. Did you speak? Oh, I missed that one. Okay. The fees converted ticker on the dashboard doesn't seem to update. Is it a batch process, not live? Jeff, you'll have to get you an update on that. No idea, actually. I think it is live. We might have not done the first batch yet. Maybe there's a threshold. I'll find out. Did you speak with their marketing guy, Sartha, or what's his name? Somebody was tweeting back and forth with me. I think it might have been their marketing guy. He was a jackass. So if this guy you're mentioning is a jackass and he's full of shit, then that was him. Daniel, a few of these. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. I mean, the guy's full of shit. Just throw it out there. Look, everybody can be full of shit sometimes. I've been full of shit once or twice in my life, I guess. I mean, like 20 years ago, but that guy's 100% full of shit. I mean, because if you have to understand, if you're the market, I mean, if he is the marketing guy, right? If you're the marketing guy for a company that's completely scamming their entire client base, you either don't know they're scamming their client base, which makes you an idiot and also complicit, or and you're lying to everyone, which makes you an asshole. So you pick which side of the fence you want to be on that argument. They both suck, right? So. All right, guys, so it's an hour and 4 minutes in. Anybody else have a question, comments, anything before I give my usual farewell, adios? Maybe I should do it in Spanish today. What do you think? This way, nobody will know what the fuck I'm saying. All right, good. Okay, cool. So as I always say, spend time with friends and family. Don't look at prices. Buy some XCM. What do we got? We have T-minus 7 days till Valentine's Day, guys. I'm telling you, whatever your wife or girlfriend said she wanted, boyfriend, whatever the case is, right? Whatever the pronoun they use, if, that, they, this, then, the other, I don't know, whatever. So, if, they might have said they wanted jewelry or whatever, like, chocolates, go out to dinner. No. XCM, bro. Seriously, XCM. That's what everybody wants. So that's what you should do. T-shirts, Espanol. Okay. I'll do it in Spanish in a second. Okay, when do you want to buy T-shirts? As I said, so T-shirts. Still working on the last couple designs. I think I got 10 more designs coming in. Get those printed, see how they look. I think we're probably looking at beginning of summer, and then maybe slightly before the beginning of summer, and you guys will be able to get your hands on some T-shirts. I can't do it in Estonian. I know like 4 words in Estonian, and 3 of those words I'm not going to say online. Why is XCM not on TradingView? Because TradingView, doesn't know how awesome we are. I have no idea. Maybe could be because of volumes. I don't know. I don't know what their requirements are in terms to list something. So in Spanish, es el fin de semana. Gasta el tiempo con tus amigos, tu familia, quien sea. No andas checando los precios por el estrés y compras XCM, por supuesto. Okay, so there you go. Estonian is a language, actually. I think there's about 17 people that speak it. So yeah, there you go. All right, so that's it, guys. I'm signing off. Hopefully I won't be sick next week. If the coronavirus kicks in and I kick the bucket, next week Oliver will just run the AMA, and fucking everybody will forget about me in a week or so, and it'll be fine. Did I call you idiots? Did I call you? I didn't call you guys idiots, did I? What did I call you idiots about? Tell me, Bjorn. How are you an idiot? I mean, I don't know. You specifically, I don't know, but I didn't. My finance was mad because I was buying XCM behind her back. Well, that's because you bought it behind her back. You should have told her about it, you see? Tell her you're going to buy her XCM for Valentine's Day, dude. You'll have like the best night of your life, guaranteed. All right, anyway. You spoke some unknown language. I know that was Spanish. I just said my normal blurb in Spanish for the 2 people that can understand me, maybe. I don't know. If killing you is the thing that gets Oliver on the AMA, then well, yeah. Thanks. Look, if you're gonna do it, like, I don't know, like shoot me. Don't like poison. It's got to be quick, man. I don't want a slow death. That's horrible. I'll take the quick one. So push me out a window. I mean, we're on the 4th floor. I don't think I'd die though. I'd probably be the guy that falls out of the 4th floor window and then breaks every bone in his body but lives. Fuck that. Just bring me up to the 7th floor or something. That might be enough. I don't even know if we have 7 floors. I don't think we do. All right. Anyway, yeah, this is really going off topic. So I'm just going to end it here. So yeah, have a good weekend, guys. Tag me on Telegram at Kevin Murcko. You can tag me on Twitter. You can tag me on Instagram. You can tag me wherever you want to tag me, and I should probably see it. You can even, I guess, probably tag me on Facebook, though I never use it. And see you guys next Friday. Tag me on Telegram and ask me any questions there, and I'll answer them as I can, time permitting. See you next week. Cheers.